Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody, for our last onX Hunt Research Tools 101 class of the year. We're already getting towards the end of application season. It's kind of crazy how fast it's gone, but we still have some deadlines coming up. So hopefully we'll have some good information to help everybody out in making your application decisions this year. We'll get going in just a minute or two. Want to give people some time to get logged in and get situated. A little bit of housekeeping while we wait. Your audio and video are turned off, so we can't see or hear you. So no worries if you have noise in the background or anything like that. There's already folks in the chat there. The chat is a great spot just to let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. If you do have any questions you'd like us to answer, we have a couple of folks in the background who are experts in hunt research tools that'll be able to answer questions for you as we go through the class. Please put them in the Q&A bar down below, or the Q&A box should be down along the bottom of your screen. Questions just get lost in the chat too easily, so we're not really able to answer questions in the chat. So please use the Q&A for any questions you have. We'll do our best to answer as many as we have time for. This class is being recorded, so if you want to go back and rewatch something, rewatch the whole thing or just a segment, or if you have to leave early and you want to watch the part you missed, we'll have it uploaded to the onX Hunt YouTube channel tomorrow, and we will send you an email tomorrow evening. It'll come to your inbox about this time tomorrow night with that link in there. So if you're not able to find it, doing a search tomorrow morning, you'll get an email tomorrow evening with that link as well. And we are doing a giveaway at the end of this class. We're giving away some onX Hunt hats. So you do have to be present to enter that giveaway. We will post the giveaway link in the chat towards the end of the class, so that you can get entered there. And with that, I think we got some folks rolling in here. So I'll introduce myself. My name's Jack Headland. I'm on the marketing team here at onX. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of talking tonight because I'm joined by Paul Ronto, who is the kind of our head honcho here as far as hunt research tools go. So he's going to be leading us through the class tonight. He's down in Colorado. Paul, how are things down there today?
Yeah, things are great. We're getting some rain, which is kind of nice. Everything's greening up, and turkey season is in full swing. So it's been a pretty good couple weeks.
Awesome. Well, I think the floor is yours, Paul, if you want to get into teaching us all how to use hunt research tools.
Great, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. Appreciate you guys taking the time and joining us for this webinar. Obviously, onX has a whole suite of tools, one being our mapping app that everybody has on their phone. But we've got another tool called Hunt Research Tools, which is really our planning and research. Hold on just a second. I'm going to close my door. I got a dog in the background barking. Yeah, so we've got a whole suite of tools designed to help you with your application season, from a draw odds tool to a couple partner tools with Hunting Fool and Hunt Reminder, and we'll talk about those. But let's dive right on in and get to some of this presentation. So again, I'm Paul. I am a product manager on the onX Hunt team. I manage anything that's outside of the map. I'm passionate about hunting, obviously. I've been a hunter for a long time, and I'm really excited to help bring this new tool to market, which really helps people in the planning phase of their hunt. During application season, during the preseason to your hunt, everything between the end of your last hunt and the beginning of your next hunt. So what's on the docket today? So we're going to go over some master classes that are coming up real quick. We're going to talk about why it's important to develop an application strategy. We're going to do a full live demo of the Hunt Research Tools product. We're going to talk a little bit about state regs and why it's important to always check your state regs. And then we're going to talk about a few other free resources you get with your onX Elite account. And then at the end, we've got a deal for you guys. If you need to upgrade to onX Elite or buy onX, we'll have some Q&A. And at the very end, we've got a giveaway tonight. We're going to give away some swag to 10 lucky viewers. So stick around. You've got to be here for the giveaway. There's no way to do it after the fact. So stick around for that. So first off, this masterclass, this webinar is really about how to use the tool. If you have issues with your onX Hunt app, this is not a great place to get those answered. Please reach out to our help center at help@onxmaps.com, or there's our phone number if you want to take the phone number down for our customer service department. Also, if you have specific questions about you've got 17 points in Nevada and you want to know what unit's best for you, that's really a better question for our partners over at Hunting Fool. And so I've put the Hunting Fool website and their phone number. As an elite member, you get a free access to the online digital magazine as well as some of their research tools as well. But they also have an upgrade that you can do where you can actually go and talk to a hunt consultant one-on-one. And so again, this presentation isn't really to help you with your onX Hunt app or specific questions about what you should be applying for. It's more how to use the tool, the hunt research tool, to get your application strategy put together and be able to apply with confidence. Upcoming classes, if you guys like this one, please come back. We've got mid-May on the 14th, we've got a Master the App 101, which Jack will be teaching. That goes over everything you need to know with the onX Hunt app. So that one's a great one if you want to know all the tips and tricks and maybe some advanced features that you're not utilizing. And then we've got an application season webinar with our partners over at Hunt and Fool that's going to cover over-the-counter tags and leftover tags. Now that the application windows are starting to come to an end, there's going to be second application windows that have to do with leftover tags, how to buy over-the-counter tags. So that one's on the 22nd of May. So again, go to the website and register for those classes. They're coming up. They're going to be great. Also, past classes, if you guys want, we put all these classes on our YouTube channel. So the past classes that had to do with application season this year were looking at Colorado draw changes. If you guys are aware, there's a bunch of changes coming to Colorado in 2028. Also, there was a one around Western big game for beginners and one about upcoming draw deadlines. You can get there by going to bit.ly/onX masterclasses. We'll post that in the chat as well, so you guys can copy that. But it's over on our YouTube channel. We post all of these, so there's tons of information in there from how to use the app to how to use it for turkey season to how to e-scout and all this application season stuff we've already done this year. Okay, so here's the most important thing and the reason why you guys are here today. It's all about developing a strategy. So we have a bunch of tools to help you stay organized, and we'll go over those at the end. But these tools will help you understand deadlines. Oops. Let me go back. Will help you understand deadlines and fees, help you organize your accounts and your passwords, understand your hunt dates. It's really important to have a strategy. Tags are getting harder and harder to get in the West. There's fewer and fewer OTC opportunities left these days. And so it's really important to have a strategy to help you figure out how to get tags in the state you potentially live in, or maybe a state you want to travel to, or all across the West. And so this is going to talk about mostly the draw tags. This tool is really designed to help you with your draw odds, but there are still some over-the-counter tags, and so we'll talk about those a little bit as well. They are tending to dwindle a bit, but there's still some opportunities. Colorado still has some over-the-counter opportunities. Some of the states out east have some over-the-counter opportunities, but really this tool is designed to help you figure out how to apply and what units to apply for. Every state does their draws differently, so it's really important if you're going to apply to multiple states to know the nuance and the costs. Some states require you to pay for the whole tag up front at application time, and if you don't get it, you get a refund. This can get really expensive, so if you're on a tight budget, that's really good to know which states require you to pay for the full tag up front versus which states only require you to pay for an application fee. And then you pay for the tag, obviously, if you get it. The other thing is, with all these changes that are happening across the West, it's important to understand how to draw a tag, because the unit you've hunted for the last 10 or 15 years may not be the same unit you can hunt next year. Access is changing across the West. Public lands are being divested. Changes to walk-in programs are happening. Quotas are going down or up in some cases. There's more hunting pressure out there. There's recreational pressure like never before. And so it's really important to know that that same unit you've hunted for most of your life may not be the unit you hunt in the future. For me, myself, I hunted a unit for 18 years here in Colorado. A couple years ago, it got hit really bad with winter kill. 89% of that elk herd perished that winter. And the next year, that unit just was not going to be good. It's still not good. It's 4 or 5 years later. And so I had to change my unit. I had to start all over and learn something new, draw on a different unit. And so it's really important to know that you just may not be able to hunt the same unit year after year. The next thing is understanding your draw odds. So in each state, there's a draw odds or a different method to run their draw. Some states are preference point states. Some states are bonus point states. And it's really important to know the difference between these. Preference points are points that take the users with the most points and give those tags to the people at the top of that list. So it's kind of like a long wait list. The people with the most points get the first cuts of the tags. Bonus points are really like a raffle, and you can have multiple bonus points, which tend to act like multiple tickets in a hat. So the more points you have, the higher chance you have of that one ticket being drawn, but it's still somewhat random. There's also random draws out there that no one has points for, and it's just you put in and you're one out of however many people apply for that specific tag. And then there's a bunch of hybrid systems as well. And so really understanding the states that you're applying for and how their application system works is really important because it's going to make a big difference on how you apply or maybe what tags you apply for. One of the big things that we're going to talk about in the demo is this preference point break-even level. And so this is where a percent of users drew tags in the last draw, giving you an idea of how many points you need to be eligible for this year's hunt. And so we'll go over that and I'll show you guys exactly how to find that in the tool. But that's really important because in a preference point hunt, you usually have three different options or three different successful outcomes. One is anyone below a certain point won't get the tag. A certain percentage of people at a certain point level, let's say 10 points, may get the tag. And then anyone above that point level, let's say 11 points and up, everybody would get that tag. Or we'll show you how that data played out from last year. And so that's really important to know. If on a preference point hunt, the break-even point is 10 and you only have 6 points, you're in the no man's land. You have a 0% chance of getting that. If you have 10, you've got a slight percentage. And if you have 12 or 15 points, then you most likely are going to draw that tag. So that's really important to understand. And I'll show you that again in the tool. The other thing that's important to understand is resident versus non-resident draws. Residents usually have a much better draw odds. And it's important to understand the differences in states, whether you're a resident or non-resident. A lot of times they'll give the majority of the tags to the residents. So let's say in a state like Colorado, where they may give 90% of the tags to the residents, only 10% of that tag quota is left over for the non-residents. And so you really need to understand those nuances as a non-resident because it is harder to get tags in a lot of states. Wyoming's a good example of this. For residents, they do a completely random draw. For non-residents, they have 4 different types of draws you got to wade through: a regular, a special, a random. And it's really complex and complicated. So it makes a ton of sense to read the regs and understand what you're applying for. And then the last thing I want to say here is always check your state regs. You're going to hear me say this many times tonight. Always go to the state website, go get the regs booklet and check your regs. Things change, and all this data that you're going to see tonight in this tool is always based on last year's draw. And so the data that you're looking at to plan for your 2025 draw is based off of what happened in the 2024 draw. So it's always a year old, and that's the most accurate way to run these draw odds. The draws haven't happened this year yet, so we don't know what's going to happen. We're not predicting the future. And so we're always looking a year behind. So it's really important to look at your regs book to make sure there aren't any changes for the upcoming year that might affect your strategy. Now, when I say we have 2024 draws, I'll explain that more throughout the demo, but we aim to have all states updated before the draw deadline. Obviously, we aim to have them updated in our tool well before the draw even opens. But it takes time, and not every state gets us their data efficiently and effectively. And so sometimes we're a little closer to the draw than some people might like. But I'll show you in the tool how to determine if we've updated for the current year, and then you'll know that state is ready to rock and roll. And so that's just really important to understand. Again, I'll reiterate this a few times. There's a common misconception around this that we're publishing draw odds that are predicting the future, what's going to happen in the 2025 draw, and we're not. This tool isn't predictive. It's telling users what the odds were last year, and we've got historical data that goes back 5 to 10 years. and you can see a trend line. And you see here in this image that you can see these trend lines. And by looking at trends, you can kind of expect what's going to happen in the upcoming draw, as long as there wasn't some big quota change, maybe winter kill happened. As long as there wasn't some big change to the units if they split. And again, I'll show you in here how to find that in your regs books and why it's important to go always check the regs before you apply. All right, now we're to the demo part. We're going to dive in and we're going to go to the actual tool. So there's a few ways that you can get to this tool. One of the easiest ways, if I go to Web Map, I'll just go over to onX Web Map, and this happens in your on your phone too. You can go over to this section here that says Elite Tools. And when you click on Elite Tools, you'll see the Hunt Research Tools, and you can just try it out with the big red button. The other thing you can do is over here in Web Map, you can see Launch Hunt Research Tools. And so those will take you to Hunt Research Tools itself. And this is the blank state that you'll land on. And so the first thing that you want to do is, if you've never used this tool before, is set your residency and set your points. There's a couple ways to do this, but this is really important because all the draw odds in this tool are calculated specifically for you, the individual, based on your residency and how many species and state points you have. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You'll see these easy buttons, edit residency or edit points. You can click on either of those, or you can go up here to the menu and you can also go to my points or my profile. So we'll go to my profile first, and you'll see nothing set up. It's just pulling in some information from my onX account. It's saying what email I'm using, and I'll go in and let's set Colorado. I'm a Colorado resident, and so I save that, and now you'll see Colorado set for my residency. The next thing from this screen, I'll add my points, and I can do that in a couple ways, clicking points here to the left or right, or again, I can go back in here and click my points. But let's add some points. So we come in here, and here's all the states that we have in the tool that have points connected to them. So I'll click on Colorado and click on species. Let's say elk. These are preference points. And so let's say I've got 5 points, and then let's do another one for antelope. I've got 9 points for antelope. So now I've got points saved. I can go back to my profile. You'll see these points are saved. You can add them for a bunch of different states. You know, if I'm an out-of-state resident for California, but maybe I've got a couple points there, I can add those as well. And you'll see these pop up. So now my residency is set and my points are set. So now I'm going to go back to the draw odds tool. So now first thing to do is pick a species and a state. Those are required to start a search. So let's do Colorado and let's do elk. Sorry, I said that backwards. From here, I can just hit the red button, or I can hit anywhere on the screen and it'll fire the results. The other thing you can click here, which we'll get into all these filters, but is weapon. And so right off the bat, I know I'm a rifle hunter. Let's just click that. So we've got a result set that makes sense. So our default view is this table view. It looks like a spreadsheet. I'll get to this big red button here later, which is map view. I'll show you it real quick, but there's this other view where you can see the results in a different format. You've got a map here that you can manipulate. We will get to that, but I want to explain table view first since it's our default view. So in here, you'll see first off, there's a ton of results. If I scroll, I'm going to scroll and scroll and scroll. There's a ton of information in here. And so you'll even see how many results are represented. Now this, let me zoom in a little bit. So it's a little bit bigger. So now you'll see I have 1,257 results. That's a ton of results. And I'm going to want to filter that down so that it's a little easier for me to parse through these and find something that matches what I'm looking for. So again, like I said, first filter was weapon. So I've got that. Now we can go in here and we can search by unit or add more filters. I'm going to search by unit first. So if I know there's a specific unit I want to hunt, maybe I want to hunt unit 1, which is, I know from living here, is up in the northwest corner. Big bulls come in from the Utah border into here. I can click that, and now we're just going to see unit 1. And now you'll see there's only 7 results. It's much easier for me to look through this. So that's great if you know the specific unit, or if you know maybe 2 or 3 units that you want to look at. You can select multiples of these. There's 39 results now, and you'll see the results for those few units. And you can see here the unit name in this column. You can sort it. So if you just want to see unit 3, or you can sort it high to low or low to high. But let's back out of there. I'm going to close these out, and I am going to go back to the full result list, and I'm going to show you some other filters here. So if you click this more filter, you've got a bunch of options here. So first off, you got a date range. So if you know you want to hunt let's say you want to hunt in October. So you could set the date range. This is September. So say I want to hunt in September, see what kind of hunts there are out there. If I hit apply, it's going to bring these down considerably. Now, I know September is normally an archery hunt. So if I go back in and change this to archery, this will go back up quite a bit. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do based on date range. We'll clear that out. Rut activity. This is another one you can click. So this shows tags where the season dates align with peak rut. So we get that information from the states based on when animals are rutting. Again, if you add any of these filters and there are no hunts, so let's say I just put in February, you may get a null result like this. That means that something in the filter is too specific and there's no hunts that meet your criteria. So what you want to do is go back in and edit your search. You can easily clear your search, or I can go in. I know it was that date filter that I added. So let's go back. So let's go back to this big results list. Some of these other filters you have in here are species sex. So it defaults to all sex, but you can add male only. So this is bull tags and either sex tags. You can click female tags. So this would be female tags, cow tags, or either sex tags as well. Or if you want to look for only either sex tags, you can click that as well. A lot of people obviously want to hunt big bulls. So let's add that. And you'll see the results go down from 1,257 to 514. So these are going to be all bull tags or either sex tags. So we'll go back. Now, other things you can do is you can, if you're a veteran and you know you have a veteran status, you can look at veteran hunts, or you can exclude these if you're not a veteran. Same with youth hunts. They're included by default, so they're all in there, but I'm not a vet and I'm not youth, so I can exclude those and I can knock those out of my results list. The other thing you can do if you are a vet and you just want to look at those, or you are a youth, you can show only, and that'll show only those hunts. And then if you scroll a little bit further, we've got a couple of these filters that have these slider bars. So you can filter on draw odds. So what draw odd percentage would you like? Maybe you just want to look at tags you know you can get. So let's say 85 to 100%. So now when I look at that, all of these draw odds here in this column are going to be between 85 and 100%. I can also go back in here and I can look at harvest rate. If I just want to look at units that have really high harvest rate, I can slide these from either side, so they're super adjustable. I can also look at public land ratio. So how much of the unit is public land? If I want to make sure I'm hunting in units that have a lot of public land, maybe it's at least 50% of the unit, I would set the filter to that. And then the last one is hunters per square mile. So how much pressure? This one's a little different than the three above it. This one's not based on percentage, and you can adjust it to the hundredth on the decimal point side. And you can find units that have very low pressure, or maybe units that you know you want to use the pressure to move animals around. And so you can set all these filters and reduce the list behind this. So let's apply this. Now let's just look at what all this data means. So by column, so year of data, this is what I was talking about earlier. This shows 2024, so that's the year of the data. All of our data is up to date currently in this tool, so you won't see any 2023s. But next year, as we roll over, you might see some states that say 2024, and as we update them, the new states that have been updated will say 2025. And so if you have multiple states selected, let's say, which you can do, and I'll show you what these notifications mean in a minute, but you might have some states that have a different date range, and that just means we haven't updated that data yet. The next column is hunt code. So this is the actual hunt code that you would use to apply that this hunt is, so like in Colorado, this stands for elk, female, unit 7, third rifle. And so there's the hunt code that you would actually use to apply. It looks like this is the Montana hunt code. So that's unit 270 with a modifier here on the end. The next is state. So it's going to show you what state this tag's for, and then the unit name. And so this unit name will show you exactly what unit. And then you can see there's a link button. It's underlined. This will take you to what we call the unit page. And I'll show you guys that in a moment. But let's move on first. Then it'll say the species. So these are all elk. If I change this to deer, you would see this would change to deer. And again, I'll show you what these notifications mean in a minute. And then the species type. So if it's an antlerless, or if it's a doe tag, or if it's an either sex mule deer, you'll see all these options here. Let's go back to elk, since that's one that people like to look at the most. Again, elk, you have a brow tine bull elk, you have an antlerless elk, cow elk. So it'll show you what types of species and bag type this tag is associated with. And then obviously the weapon. So again, if you had multiple weapons selected, it would show you that we've got rifle selected today. And then what season? So Montana calls these rifle seasons. Colorado's a little more specific, third rifle, fourth rifle, first late. So you can know what hunting season that is. And then it shows the dates from last year. So when was this season last year? So fourth rifle was, over Thanksgiving. Third rifle was a little earlier in November. So this can help you plan. If you know you can only hunt in October, maybe this is the tag that you'd be looking for. Now this column, this is going to be the default column. It's going to sort by draw odds. And this is really interesting because this is going to show you at your point value what your draw odds are. So I don't have any points in Montana, but I do have 5 points in Colorado. So if you remember when I put them into my point manager, if we go back here and look at points, I've got 5 elk points for Colorado. So when we go back here, this is actually showing me what my draw odds are for these tags with 5 points. And then right next to it is the min points to draw. So this is what I was talking about, which is that break even point. So for this tag right here, EF elk female unit 2, third rifle, this took 1 point last year. So the break even was 1 point. And so that meant anybody with 0 points didn't draw. 61% of the people with 1 point did draw this tag, and anybody with 2 or more points last year drew it at 100%. And so you can go down here and you can see a bunch of different of these point values. And we can let's look at a unit that I know is really hard to get. So if we go to unit 1, we can look at this tag right here. So this is an elk either sex tag. It's the early first rifle. This is in a trophy unit. For me as a resident, it would have taken 19 points. So I have 0% chance, my draw odds, 0% chance, because last year this took 19 points for someone to draw. So that again means anyone with 18 points or below did not draw it. They had 0%, they had 0 tags drawn. Anyone with 19 points had a 33% chance, and anyone with 20 points or more got this tag at 100%. And so that column is really important in a preference point draw to look at and understand what the break-even point means. So let's clear that unit out, get all our results back. Now we'll look at tags given. So this is the quota. So how many tags were given for this residency status? So for me in Montana, I'm a non-resident. There was 15 non-resident tags. Whereas you look at these Colorado tags here, cow elk, there were 170 resident tags. So that's really important to know. This is not the total quota. This is the quota for you based on your residency type. So if I go back in here and I add Montana, these numbers will change because residency type will be different. And you've got harvest rate. So how many people successfully harvested an animal that had this tag? This is obviously really important. This tag here, this cow elk tag, 70% harvest rate. That's a great hunt. Only takes 1 point. If you're just looking for meat, that might be a good one. Whereas this one below it, this one was much harder. Only 5% were successful. Then the next column we've got is public land in square miles. So this is how much public land is in that unit in square mileage. So you can see in this first unit 270, there's 563 square miles of public land. And then the next column tells you what percent of that unit it is. So in unit 270, 85% of the unit is public. So that's really good to know if you need to spread out, you want lots of space to be able to get away from other hunters. If you look at some of these, this one right here, only 12% of the unit is public and only 46 square miles, so considerably smaller. And then the next column we have here is hunters per square mile. So this is your hunting pressure column. So this is going to tell you how many people with this tag divided by how many square miles of land are in the unit. And so, you can look at ones that have this is almost 1 hunter per square mile versus this unit here is very low pressure at 0.01. And so you've got lots of options here to determine what kind of hunt you want to go on. Now, this is just the number of people with this specific tag. Obviously, there could be other people and other hunting pressure in your unit. There could be people with a bull tag and a cow tag. There could be people with deer tags in your unit. There could be people in OHVs and on dirt bikes. There could be people trail running and mountain biking. And so this isn't giving you the whole picture of how busy a unit is, but it is telling you how much competition you have in this unit with someone else that has the exact same tag as you. So that's really important. If you got a bull tag, maybe there's a whole ton of cow tags out there and there's going to be people pushing animals around, but there's low competition for people that are looking for a big mature bull. So that's important. And then the next column you've got is additional units. So if a tag is good in more than just the unit you're looking at, you'll see additional units. So like this tag here is good in units 3, 4, 5, 301, 441. And so that column tells you you can obviously go look at additional units. And then you've got a notes. So if there's any specific notes that are important, like this one's really important. So if you get this tag, this 217-02, this is valid on private land only. That's really crucial that you don't apply for this if you have no private land access in that unit. Now, you could get the tag and you could spend your summer knocking on doors and calling people trying to get access, but that's a challenge. And so if you don't have private land access already, this notes column is really important to read. Now, if there's more notes that don't fit on a single line, you'll see there's a link here, and this will actually take you to the unit page and it'll show you that whole note. Again, I'll show you guys that in a minute. A little more functionality here is any column that has a red triangle at the top, you can sort from high to low or low to high. So if we go to draw odds, obviously you see all these 100% ones. We can now sort it low, so all the 0% ones. And then it highlights the column that you are sorting on. So unit name, you can do this as well. So unit 1, or if you know that you want, you live around unit 800 and you want to search that way rather than using this filter, you can do it that way. And again, harvest rate has that same thing. So if you want to look at units that have the highest harvest rate and you just want to be successful, like there's a bunch of good units here that have really high harvest rate. Public land square mileage, again, you can look at that, high to low and low to high. Ones that have the most public land, maybe more pertinent is the percent of public land. So you can look at this as well, which ones are 100%, and then hunters per square mile. So you can look at hunting pressure from high to low or low to high as well. So lots of functionality in this table. There's lots of things you can look at. Lots of filters. And my suggestion is if there's 1,700 results, get it down to a manageable amount. If I know I just want to hunt unit 1 and that's all I want to do, let's just look at these 7 results. This makes my life so much easier. I know I can't get, if I sort by draw odds, low to high, I know I can't get this tag, but there's a whole bunch of other tags I can get in that unit. And so that automatically makes it interesting for me to look at. I can whittle these down. I can see I don't want to hunt in December. August might be too hot. That's a long season, it looks like. That's private land only, so not that one. And so maybe I just want to look at November. And there's my hunt code. I can go to the CPW website and apply for this hunt, knowing that with 0 points, I actually have a chance at getting this tag. So that is table view. The last thing I want to show you is this little share button. If you're hunting with a bunch of buddies or you got a group, this share button actually will share these specific results with all the filters you've turned on. So if I hit this share button, it's going to copy this link and I can send that to a buddy. And when he logs in or she logs into Hunt Research Tools with this link, it'll pull up this exact result list based on the filters I have selected, as well as the unit I've selected, whatever I've got done, it will show them the same thing. Now, they do have to be an onX Elite member to be able to log in, obviously, but that's a really awesome way to be able to share these results and do some group planning with the people you're going to be going hunting with. All right, now let's switch over to map view. And one of the things I'm going to show you in map view is the unit page. So don't forget, if I click this, it will take me to this unit page. I'm going to show you guys what this unit page means, but I'm going to show it to you from map view. There's a whole bunch of information on that unit page, and so just stick with me. Okay, so now on map view, it's all the same results. Same filters are all turned on. These are my 7 results for unit 1 in Colorado. They just have the information displayed in a slightly different way. So again, the state, the little icon, what unit, it's in Colorado, the hunt code, the species, the sex or bag type, the weapon, the dates from last year, what the season was called from last year, and then the same thing. It's got my draw odds, which are my points, and then it's got the min points to draw, again, that 19-point hunt. It's got how many tags were given, the quota, the harvest rate if the state has provided it. So the state doesn't provide all of the harvest rates for every single tag. And so you'll see here, some of them say NA. If it's NA, we did not get that information from the state. And then again, total land, the amount of land that's public, and your hunting pressure. So a little bit different data. This is a little more simplified. There's a little less data in here, but the most important stuff is in here. Now, if you want to get to the unit page, you can use this caret button. That'll take you again right to this unit page. Keep holding tight. I'm going to show you this unit page in a minute. But the other things I want to show you are the map view. So in this map view, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and it changes with every click of the card. These are all unit 1. But if I add unit 2 here, and we go to a unit 2 card and click on it, it'll change to unit 2. And so just click on the card and it'll take you back and forth to whatever unit you're looking at. So now we're looking at unit 1. A couple things you can do here. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. You can go to 3D. If you know how to manipulate this with your keyboard. On a Mac, I hit Control. I think on a PC, it's Command or Shift. But you can zip around. You can see what's going on in the unit. I want to see, how much BLM land. What does the topography actually look like? I've got topo lines so I can see how steep these canyons are. I know Canyon of Lador, there's a big river in there that's really hard to cross. So I have to figure out, is this a unit that I actually even want to hunt in? Yes, maybe, maybe not. Regardless, it gives me a little bit of insight into the unit. Now, we don't have all the features that are normally found on web map or in the app in here. If you do want those, you just hit this open to onX Hunt and it will open your web map right on unit 1. So here's unit 1, same unit, same place I was looking at. And I can now go in and I can look at all my markups. I can look at my tracks. I can add layers. We made it a little more simple in Hunt Research Tools because it's just a small corner of the screen. It makes more sense to actually go to web map. So pretty easy, one click of a button and it takes you right to what you were looking at in HRT. So now let's go to these unit pages. So what's in a unit page? So again, the unit page has all the hunts that were on that last page. So there's 7 of these cards. The one that is open right now is the hunt I came in from. So if I go back, you'll notice I came in on this either sex unit 1. If I come into this late season, it's going to open a different card for me. So let's go back and explore what we have in the unit pages. And again, we've got a map that you can zoom around a little bit. You can change your species if you want to from here to look at different species you can hunt in that unit. There's a little bit of information about this unit, how much land it is, the percentage of public land. And then when we get down here to the actual hunt card, so I can click these hunt cards and they'll open and close. We get into the hunt card, you can see the draw odds. And this really shows this break-even point very clearly. So as a resident, again, this was a 19-point unit. 33% of people at 19 points got this tag. Everyone below 19 points was a 0% draw odd, and everybody above 19 points was a 100% draw odd. So again, that's the break-even point on a preference point hunt. We also show non-resident. So if you have buddies that you're hunting with that are non-residents, you can quickly look and you can see the break-even point for non-residents was 30 points. So everyone with 29 and below, no luck. But 30, you had a really good chance. Everyone with 30, almost everyone with 30 got it. And everyone with 31, 32, and 33 were guaranteed that tag. Some of the other things you'll see in here are total quota. And we go back to 2016. So you can see the trend line. This unit is healthy. The quota hasn't gone up or down, which is really important. And you can see quota both for the resident and the non-resident. And then you can see first choice applicants. So how that trend has gone. Looks like it's trended up and now it's trending back down. So maybe this tag is getting a little bit easier. This is a really high quality hunt. So it's still pretty challenging to get, but you can see that trend. And then you can see minimum points required. So there's been some point creep. Back in 2016, this tag used to take 14 points. It's peaked at around 20, and last year it actually got a little bit better, and that's because there was less applicants in the applicant pool. And so you see that it's come down a little bit. So you can see these, you can see if they've gone up or down, and you can click around into different units and see all this data of what's happening based on the actual hunt code. So the unit page has a ton of information on it. Definitely go in and check that out while you're playing around with the tool. So let's go back in here and let's see what else. So notifications. So you saw these notifications pop up. This is because I've got Wyoming turned on. And so if I have Wyoming turned on right now, it's based on selection. So let's clear this actually. And let's look at deer, Wyoming. You'll get one of these notifications. So first it's going to tell me you're only showing the draw odds for non-resident. And that's because I'm a non-resident. So that's great. If I was an actual resident, this notification is telling me I should go in and set my profile to Wyoming resident so that the draw odds are correct. Great. I can close that out. Now, one of the other things you'll see because I picked deer in Wyoming is we've got this notification of Wyoming deer and antelope special and random draw odds are currently not available in this product. So we haven't had time, we haven't been able to get those draw odds into this tool, but we do have them from the state and we want to give them to you guys. And so if you see one of these, we have a link that sends you to a landing page. And this landing page tells you a little bit about special versus regular versus random in Wyoming. It's very unique. The difference in prices for regular. So there's a little bit of information here, some strategy, some tips. And then you see these two big red buttons at the bottom and the top. These will actually take you to the data that you're looking for. So in here, you've got special deer and special antelope. You've got all the information you need. So if we go back here, another one that I know is not in here is there's some unique elk hunts in Nevada we don't have in the tool. So antlerless tags, spike tags, and depredation hunts. So again, you can click that and we've got a whole page talking about antlerless tags, spike tags, depredation elk tags, and a little bit of information here on tips. And then you can go and actually look at antlerless, spike, depredation, antlerless, and depredation antlered. Let's see what else is potentially not in the tool today that would have one of these. Antelope in Nevada is another one. So antelope shorter than horns, shorter than ears. It tells you a little bit about these tags, why you'd want to apply for them. And again, you can go in and see all this data. So although the data is not in the tool yet, we do offer it to you guys. So if you see one of these notifications pop up, make sure you read it and see if it pertains to you. If not, you can close it and you can always exit out. It'll always pop back up the next time you search for something. So you don't worry, you won't lose it. So that's basically the whole tool. There's a few other things to show you in here. When you open your menu, there's a link to our other application season tools. So this takes you to the onX website and it tells you about Hunt and Fool, tells you about the elk giveaway we're doing right now, tells you about Hunt Reminder and what those tools are all about. It's got some information on upcoming draws. So you can see obviously some draws in May. There was a couple draw deadlines today for Idaho and Wyoming. What else? Yeah, Utah just passed. So there's some information in here that you can go learn about. Other things in here, there's a link to an FAQ page. So if you have questions, there's a ton of FAQs in here. We've taken a bunch of questions from people. We've thrown them in here with a bunch of answers. There's a ton of these. Anytime we get a question a couple times that seems like there's a theme, we throw it in here. And then there's a bunch of screenshots and there's even some YouTube videos on how to use the tool. So if you have questions, definitely go to the FAQ page or again, reach out to our customer support department. Lastly, on here, you can go directly to Hunt and Fool or Hunt Reminder. If you're an elite member and you're in this tool, you've got access to these. So you can go to Hunt and Fool and it'll ask you to log in. But there's a whole bunch of interesting things in here. They've got e-magazines that you can read through. They've got a tag holder list for like goat and sheep hunts. You can talk to people who had the tags in the past, or you can go to Hunt Reminder. This is another tool you get for free. This allows you to set up reminders so you never miss a draw. You'll get an email or text message for every draw that you want to set up. All states, all species, really helpful so you never miss another draw. So all those links are in there. If you want to look at the privacy policy, terms of service, all that stuff's in there. So there's lots of important stuff in the profile or in the menu to have a look at. Okay, so let's close some of these. That is the demo on the tool. The last thing I want to mention here before we get to the giveaway and some Q&A time is always check your regs. Prices change, draws changed, quotas are updated. There's always a what's new section that's really helpful. So on this next slide, you'll see some of these what's new in Colorado. They highlighted in orange, things that are new. Oops. Things that are new, really important to read. Here's the Montana regs book, really important to read the highlights section. This is a brief overview of things that have changed since last year. Really important, always check your regs. Some states also have different hunt codes every year. Arizona does this for some reason. So some of the data in HRT is based on last year's hunt code. So if you're going to apply this year, you got to go into the regs and find the right hunt code that applies to the unit and bag type. So when you apply, you're applying with the right hunt code. So always check your regs, always know what you're doing before you apply. Again, other tools, you've got hunt research tools. We've talked about hunt and fool. We've talked about hunt reminder. You've also got obviously your onX hunt. So go in there and look at your map, look at layers. There's a ton of e-scouting you can do before you apply to know if there's access in a unit, to know if the terrain or the elevation is going to suit you with your fitness level. We've got the onX blog. This has a ton of articles all about applying. It's got articles about how to hunt, articles about how to do a million different things. It's super great for education. And then our YouTube channel. So there's master classes in there, there's resources, there's tips, there's videos from our ambassadors, there's videos from other employees. So there's a ton of access you get with your onX account. Go check all this stuff out. There's a ton of education to play around with. It's not just these tools. There's all sorts of stuff here that's going to be helpful. Okay, thank you guys for coming. So we've got a 30% off deal for you guys if you need to renew your app or if you need to buy Elite. Use this promo code App Strategy. We'll post this in the chat as well. It's good for a week, so it's good till next Wednesday, May 7th. After that, it'll be out. Now, one specific thing is you cannot buy this on the Apple iStore or on Google Play Store. You need to go to the onX website to use this promo code. The app stores don't allow promo codes for some reason. And so you've got to go to the website to upgrade your account. You just log in to WebMap like you normally do, go to your settings, and you can upgrade to Elite if you're not Elite already. Or if you want to buy, go to onxmaps.com and you can buy with this promo code very easily. So that's the app hunt code. We got about 10 minutes for questions, and then we're going to give you guys the link to our giveaway. We're going to give away some swag tonight. There's going to be 10 winners, so stick around for after the questions, and we'll get you guys that link so you can sign up. You can sign up by tonight at midnight, but you're going to need the link, and so stick around. Let's see here. What questions can we answer, Jack?
There's one in here just asking about, we have that calculation in there of hunters per square mile. Just somebody asking how we calculate that. They said they thought they saw one line had 15 tags and 44 square miles, and it said hunters per square mile was about 1. So I guess maybe just an explanation of how we calculate that hunters per square mile.
Yeah, so hunters per square mile is calculated on the number of tags given based divided by the total number of square miles of land in the unit. Uh, I th and again, like I said, there's a lot of specifics here that are not, there's a lot of nuance that's not included in this. So again, if you've got a cow tag, there could be bull hunters, there could be deer hunters, there could be guys on RV or OHVs and dirt bikes. And so this metric is take it with a grain of salt. It is just designed to tell you how many people are in that unit with the same tag as you based on the total square mileage of the unit. And so we do want to improve this in the future to have all different species and all tags. So it tells you just how many hunters are out there. But, you know, if you're hunting deer and someone's hunting elk, although you're bumping the animals potentially, you're not actually competing for the same animal. And so we specifically left this just based on that tag. But in the future, we will try to improve this metric so it's a little more meaningful. Great question.
Right, and that's the difficult thing. I do a lot of grouse hunting in Montana in September. I bump into elk hunters. I try to stay out of areas, where they're elk hunting, but how do you know where somebody might be bird hunting or something? So it's a good gauge for how much pressure there might be, but man, you might just run into hikers and campers and all kinds of stuff. So, and an elk gets bumped by a camper or bumped by a hiker, doesn't really matter to the elk, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, hunting a unit with a lot of pressure can actually work in your favor. If you know that you're not super mobile and you can't get around a ton, you can't go in deep, a unit with more pressure can be helpful. It does, having people in the woods does push animals around, it gets them moving. Now, they may be panicked, they may not stand still for you, but there is an opportunity there to use the other hunters to your advantage. So the more pressure in a unit isn't always a bad thing. I know we all want to be out there by ourselves, but in units where there's low numbers of animals and there's people pushing them around, you may have an opportunity to get eyes on and make a play that in units with no pressure, the animals might just be down in their deep, dark holes.
Let's see. There's a few questions about the discount code there. That is for new memberships only. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, Paul, but a few people asking about how to use that. The promo codes are for kind of your first time using
Sorry
that.
about that. I think I said upgrade, but correct. It's now that you remind me, it is new users only. So it looks like there's a question here too. It says onX used to have top rep profile of the hunt unit, topography and map view. That profile is no longer visible. Where can you find this profile now? So the best place to find the unit profile is to go into your onX Hunt app. So we've got the map on the HRT tool, and like I showed you guys, you can click that button and go into your onX web map, and you can see topography. You can go to 3D. You can see topo lines. You can go to just a topo map. You can go to satellite imagery. So that's the best place to go and actually look at the unit itself. I know TopRight used to have these unit flyovers. They were like an animation of the unit as if a drone flew over it, but it wasn't really high detail. It was just a quick overview of the type of terrain that's in a unit. So I would say if you're really focused on terrain, go into your onX account, whether it's on your phone or on the computer, and play around with the map, 3D mode. You can see everything.
There was a question in here. Is there somewhere that tells us when to apply for like returned tags and permits? So I will give a plug for our upcoming masterclass with Hunt and Fool. That one's going to be talking about OTC and leftover tags, which is similar to a return tag. It's not technically the same thing, but all of those kind of, once the draws are done, various states will have folks that turn tags back in because they weren't able to hunt or they got drawn for something else, or tags that went unpurchased or unapplied for that they then make available. So we'll cover all that in our class with the Hunt and Fool in May. They also, if you haven't read the Hunt and Fool magazine, if you have an elite membership, you get their e-magazine for free. They detail all of that. So it all depends on what state. Every state does a little bit differently, but that would be my recommendation. Check out the Hunt and Fool website and their magazine. And if you're real interested in those tags, check out our masterclass. We'll be going over all of that, when you have to have your name in the hat for those or when they go on sale and that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, and just a reminder, this tool only looks at the first draw. We do not have secondary draw odds in this tool today. It could be something we add in the future, but this is looking at the primary draw across these states, not the secondary draws or the leftovers. But again, like Jack said, we're going to cover that in the next masterclass in mid-May. So please stay tuned for that. Looks like there's another question here from Gary. So you rely on 100% on state data feeds. And then he also asks, plus this tool is only as accurate as hunters that report their harvest. True. So we get all this data directly from the state. They send it to us. We have partnerships with them. We're not scraping this data off the PDFs. So at times you'll notice that the PDF the state publishes could be slightly different than the data we have in our tool. You got to remember the states post a PDF of what happened last year in the one draw they ran. We will actually take all the data we get from the states and we'll run the draw 1,000 times, 100,000 times, as many times as it takes to get statistical significance to recreate the results that the draw actually had. And so sometimes our data looks a little different because we're doing it on a statistical model rather than what the state is publishing in their PDFs, which is literally one draw. So it could be different if they ran that draw a second or a third time. And so we try to get statistical significance. So those numbers can vary a little bit. And we actually believe that we're showing the most accurate model of how the states ran this draw and what could have happened. As far as harvest rates, again, we're beholden to the state on these. Yes, some hunters don't report their harvests. Some states are very serious about e-tagging and recording all harvests. And so our data is based on what the state is saying the harvest rate was. If you know there was another couple hunters in there that harvested that never answered the call or the survey, then maybe the harvest rate's a little higher than we're representing. But ultimately, we're using the state data, which is the best we can get.
Yeah, that's something I don't know how you would ever get any better than state data. If
Yeah,
people aren't reporting their harvest, it's not like we're able to knock on doors and ask everybody with a tag how they did.
for
Um,
sure.
Similar vein, David asks, is there data showing average age of animal harvested from each unit? I don't believe that's data most states collect. To be able to get an accurate age on an animal, you have to pull a tooth and do the cementum aging.
Yeah.
Some states do that for some species. I know every bear I've harvested in Montana, they pull a tooth and send it in. I know Utah specifically manages like their trophy elk and I think deer as well, they'll say this unit is managed for 5.5 to 7.5-year-old bulls or 6.5. But even then, I don't know that they have an exact handle on that. So that would be
Sure.
awesome data to have. I'm just not sure that it really exists in any large sense anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and we could get that data from states for these small pockets where there's biologist reports that they focused or did a study in one unit and did some aging. But it's really hard to get data consistent across many states. And our goal with this tool is to try to have as much consistent data as possible. But in the future, there may be room for one-offs like biologist reports or bear data, like you said, Jack, where they age a tooth. So yeah, good call out. Let's see here. Let's pick one or two more. There's another question here or suggestion about the public land metric and hunt pressure. And yeah, and so I'll answer this again. The reason why we do it off total square miles is because all those tags that are given for that specific hunt, hunters have the right to hunt on private land. And so they, if there's 10 tagged in a unit, 5 of those hunters may have access to private land or be on a guided hunt on private land. And so just doing it off the public land doesn't give you the whole picture. But like you said, there is room for improvement on this, and in the future we'll be looking into how we can make that metric more meaningful. Um, let's see what else. There's a question about exporting an exportable link for a friend. Unfortunately, there is no export feature. If you want access to this tool today, you do have to be an onX Elite member. So if you have a friend that wants to see this data, use that share link, send it to them, get them to buy onX Elite. For 99 bucks a year, it's an amazing deal. You not only get Hunt and Fool, Hunt Reminder, and HRT, you get all our mapping app for all 50 states. We've got a bunch of pro deals for our elite users, pro deals like gear discounts. I think there's a First Light one, Argali. There's a Final Approach one. There's a bunch of education in the tool. There's courses like a rifle course from Vortex and Seekins. There's some dog training courses. There's a waterfowl course. And then there's just a bunch of other things that you get as an elite member. And so there's a pretty good value there. So if you're wanting to export this, just talk your buddy into upgrading and he'll have access to this tool. Last question we'll answer, and then I'll move on to the giveaway. No, you cannot save your searches or filters today, but that is a feature we're planning on trying to get into the tool to bookmark searches, bookmark hunts, and be able to save them. Great question. All right, here is the link. So we'll add this to the chat. And it's bit.ly/April HRT 101. We're going to give away 10 of these. You can enter tonight by midnight, and we'll send you guys a hat. We really appreciate you guys coming to this webinar. We hope you get in the tool and you utilize it. We hope you guys have some success. We hope you build a strategy. And again, I'm going to remind you one last time, always check your regs. No matter what, before you apply, double check the regs book. Make sure you got the right hunt codes. Make sure you're understanding the right quota if quotas have changed year to year. Make sure you understand all the things that are in the reg book, since all this data always is going to be based on last year's draw. So I can't emphasize that enough. Anything from you, Jack?
One thing on the giveaway, we sometimes get messages from people that they weren't able to find the link. They weren't able to enter the giveaway. The link is the bottom chat in the chat box right now. I've turned off chat for everybody just so that the link doesn't get lost with other people typing in there. We have run into some folks, like your phone security setting doesn't let you click on that link or something. If you can copy and paste it into a browser, usually works, or take a screenshot of it and type it in manually on your computer, or type it in on your phone or something. We're not trying to gatekeep this link or whatever. I've been accused of that of, oh, you're not actually trying to give stuff away because I couldn't enter. We want to give away 10 of these hats. So click on that link, or, if you're having technical difficulties, type it in manually or something like that. That'll take you to our form. Get entered, and I will send out an email tomorrow morning to all of the winners, and I'll get the hats emailed out. So please don't send us our customer support an email asking if you won. They don't have access to the winners list. So if you don't hear from me by, lunchtime, Mountain Time tomorrow, you weren't one of the lucky winners. But check out future classes. We give away stuff at pretty much every one of them.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your draws. Hope you get the tags of your dreams, and good luck on your hunts this fall.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a good one.